Well, yeah, the one I'm currently working on is the Rafael Cruz. Now, there's actually there's like 3 Rafael Cruzes. This gets really complicated, but when I'm looking at the background of the Cruz family, I think we got another Obama. We've got CIA people on both sides, mom and dad, and the photograph, the one with Lee Harvey Oswald pamphleteering in front of the International Trade Mart in New Orleans, by the way, which was owned by Clay Shaw, who was the main target of Jim Garrison's investigation. We have the only guy not identified in that photograph is the guy that looks a lot like Rafael Cruz. I've got the FBI report from November 1963. They were not able to identify that individual. The House Select Committee on Assassinations of 1978, Robert Blakey, the general counsel, recently reaffirmed after he appeared on Frontline. He said, we don't know who that guy is. We never determined who that guy is. Well, even if you're not going to use the photo as evidence of Rafael's ties to the people in New Orleans that were being looked at by Jim Garrison, let's look at his company he worked for. He said he was a geophysical computer guy for this company that was owned by a French oil services company, Schlumberger. The heir to the Schlumberger company, Jean de Menil, winds up as a member of the board of directors of Permindex out of New Orleans, which was a CIA front company run by who? Clay Shaw. The photograph of the Rafael Cruz lookalike is taken where? In front of the International Trade Mart owned by Clay Shaw. So even if you don't use the photograph as evidence, you got to look at the business ties as evidence. And here's the scariest thing. Ted Cruz has just hired a company called Strategic Communications Laboratories out of London, where his mom lived from 1960 to 1966. Married to a guy over there who we don't know what he did for a living, but this company specializes in mass deception, psychological warfare, influence operations, and behavioral modification. Its U.S. subsidiary, Cambridge Analytics, has been retained by the Cruz for President campaign as an advisor. Now, after I broke the story about New Orleans and the possibility that's Rafael Cruz there pamphleting with Lee Harvey Oswald, I've been attacked, and it's always the same characters. One of the attacking sites is Wonket. They were the same site 9 years ago that attacked me for reporting that Dennis Hastert was involved in molesting members, underage members of his high school wrestling team in Yorkville, Illinois.
And by the way, you've now been proven right. You're the first person I ever heard say that Hastert, this is like over a decade ago, you said he was a perv, a pedophile, that you were investigating that. And so where's your Pulitzer Prize there, buddy?
I don't need those prizes. I've been to these ceremonies where these people award each other prizes. It's really disgusting because...
No, I agree. You don't want a Nobel Prize or a Pulitzer, no.
No, I mean, you're basically, to get one of those, you're submitting to some control. So if you get one, if I ever got anything like that, I'd say, I messed up. How the hell I get one of these? I shouldn't be getting one of these because, people that get those are part of the system. But the story on Rafael Cruz and the grandparents, his name was, look, Ted Cruz's father was Rafael Bienvenidos Cruz. His father was Rafael Bienvenidos Cruz. Now try to look up records on people with the same last names. But the grandparents came from Cuba in 1966. Rafael came in 57. He said he came to escape Castro's Cuba. 57, Castro wasn't in power for another 3 years, so he lied about that. His father worked for RCA in Cuba at a time when RCA was involved in a lot of anti-communist activities, including setting up clandestine radio stations for the CIA. So, what do we know about the Cruz family? Right now, we know about as much as we knew about Obama's family in 2008. And mea culpa, I didn't look at Obama's family back then, and I found out soon enough, weeks after his inauguration, how he was linked to the CIA. and it turns out the whole family.
Well, I tell you, Cruz's dad does have a interesting looking features that are somewhat unique, and it does look like a spitting image of his dad. But then you add it in together with the whole Cuban community, how he's one of the early communities, how he's hooked into all these different skunk works type organizations, and then how his son goes right up at the top with the Bushes, who we know were running the operation to kill Kennedy, George Herbert Walker Bush Sr., who's come out and declassified documents to have been in the CIA in the early 60s. He lied about it when he became the director in the 70s, just magically the director, but never been in it.
Yeah, and one of the guys in that photograph in front of the Trade Mart at the far right is Chauncey Holt, who was the accountant for Meyer Lansky, the mobster. And Chauncey Holt apparently told author Ed Haslam, who wrote a book about all this in New Orleans in those years, that all the Cubans in that photograph were part of the CIA's Operation Mongoose. That was the clandestine program to overthrow Fidel Castro. And Oswald was there doing all this just to, sheep dip these people as part of an a pro-Castro movement.
Sure, it's a cover. Absolutely. This is to get their legend going. Let's shift gears out of this. What do you make of Trump with the Communist Chinese government now coming out?